Hello, it's time to brief you on the day's election news. I am Mama Vio Swabwaje. Coming up live from our studios here in Kokoblimle in Accra, also live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 411. Coming up, Supreme Court has in a unanimous decision ruled that the Electoral Commission has the power to compile a new register. We'll get into details of that as my colleague Joseph Akable joins us from the courts. We've got some other stories, including that's from Kwadaswa as well. Stay with us. All right, now, Member of Parliament for Ningo Pramprams, Sam George, says the NDC will recapture most of the seats occupied by defeated NPP candidates. He argues that even though the exit of some of the NPP MPs would affect parliamentary work, the NDC are fielding candidates with equal competences. He was reacting to the loss of over 40 MPs from the NPP who lost their seats in the party's parliamentary primaries.
Indication of how challenging the democratic process of primaries has become. It's sad that we've lost such a huge number. The attrition rate is about 40%, because you had just about 100 constituencies and about 40 of them have lost. 60 plus, about 65 were protected. It then tells you that if they had taken part, Parliament could have lost anywhere between 60 to 70 MPs just in one primaries, and that in itself tells you how challenging the job is. Some of the brains that are not coming back to Parliament, I mean, I've been here for 3.5 years, are fantastic brains, I can say. They make the work of Parliament what it is. And so it depends on the quality that's coming. However, it really doesn't matter much, because the quality or none that will come from the NPP in the general elections will not make it to the next Parliament. Because, I mean, in those seats, the NDC is going to win those seats. And so we are not really perturbed about who is replacing who. Most of those seats, I'm not saying all the 40 will fall to the NDC, but a good number of those will fall to the NDC. And I mean, quite a number of those who were ring-fenced will also fall to the NDC. They were ring-fenced because they were not sure they would even survive in their own party primaries, how much more the general elections. So, I mean, we're in a good place as the NDC. But as a member of Parliament, I mean, it's sad to see some fine brains leave Parliament like that.
Now, Sam George also says CEOs and deputy chiefs of staff seeking to run to Parliament is an indication of government's abysmal performance over the last 3.5 years.
It just shows you that we didn't have democracy on display on Saturday. We had monocracy. It was, I mean, and there's this lecturer from the KNUSD who's a member of the NPP who says that what you had was not an election but an auction. Yes. Because, I mean, and you're beginning to hear the candidates who emerged in Anya Soul saying that he spent over 1 million Ghana cedis. I mean, in 4 years, your salary is not up to 1 million Ghana cedis. You get it. But he says that that's what he spent, and that is excluding medical support and other non-quantifiable things he did for people. You know, so clearly you realize that what we have seen with the influx of people from the executive trying to get a foothold in the legislature is two-pronged. One, they have access to money. These are people who 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, could not even afford to fuel their own cars. Many of them could not even pay filing fees. And today they are able to distribute and share dollars. Where did they make that money from? How much is their salary? Okay, that points you to the corruption, endemic corruption in this administration. The second point that you need to also understand is the fact that you have a system where people in the executive have no confidence that the executive is going to retain power. And so for political safety and survival, they want to get a foothold in Parliament so that whether their party loses or wins, they are still politically active. If CEOs and presidential staffers and chief of staffs, deputy chiefs of staff, the two deputy chiefs of staff have gone to find a parliamentary foothold, it tells you that they do not see the fortunes and the future of the Akufo-Addo administration. And that should be a signal to the Ghanaian people that even those within the boat, when those in the boat start jumping ship, the rest of us who are following should know that we need to jump ship. This Akufo-Addo ship is sinking, and sinking fast.
To the Supreme Court now, as the court has in a unanimous decision ruled that the Electoral Commission has the power to compile a new register. private citizen Mark Techibanson and the opposition NDC filed the case in court asking that it stops the EC from compiling the register or allow the use of birth certificates and the existing voters' ID by prospective voters as proof of identification. Court correspondent Joseph Akable joins us via phone. Joseph, what specifically did the court say about the compilation exercise?
Mamavi, the court made a point that the EC, as an independent institution, has the power to compile a voters register, and the only time the court will interfere with its independence is if the court observes that has acted contrary to law. And insofar as that has not been demonstrated, the court said the EC has the power to compile the new register as it intends to compile.
And we know that there's a bit of confusion. There was earlier, but even after the courts released some documents, there's still confusion over whether or not persons can use their existing voters' ID card to register in this exercise starting next week. What exactly is the way forward? What did the court say?
The court specifically said that going forward, the registration exercise should be carried in compliance with CI 126. And CI 126, which we are all aware, excludes the use of the voter's ID card and the birth certificate and allows the Ghana card and the passport. And so, by virtue of that decision, it means that if you want to take part in the exercise on Tuesday, you will have to have either a birth certificate or either a passport or the Ghana card as proof identification in order to partake in this particular exercise. And so, that is it by the way forward. The NDC's reliefs that were granted are two of them. The first relief relates to the fact that, you have the right to vote as a citizen, and that right cannot be taken from you capriciously. The second relief says that that right accrues to you when you are issued with a card. The NDC's relief 4 is a relief that was asking the court that they should allow the EC to use the existing card as proof of identification to take part in the exercise. And that relief was dismissed by the court, Mama.
So how is the NDC interpreting this decision, particularly the one on the usage of the existing voters' ID card?
Earlier, when we spoke to the General Secretary, he had indicated that it's a victory for them, and their understanding is that the existing card is to be used. But we have the order of the court since we made available. Their lawyers have perused, and we understand that a new position and a statement for that matter will be coming from the party quite shortly.
All right, we wait to see what they say next. Thanks a lot. That's our court correspondent, Joseph Akable, who's been doing a fantastic job in the courts for us. Now, one of the aggrieved New Patriotic Party parliamentary aspirant in the Fantiakwa North constituency has announced his intentions to contest as independent parliamentary candidate despite the party's caution against same. Captain Moro Sechiama Yakubu says the NPP vetting committee disqualified him without any justification during the vetting process. He said the party did not give him fair hearing. At a press conference held at Begro, Moro Sechiama Yakubu called the bluff of the party and insisted to contest as independent candidate. Maxwell Kodako was at that press conference. He joins us with more. Maxwell, what other things did he say? Why does he want to go independent despite all the cautions by the party?
Well, Mamavi, Captain Moro Sechiama says he wrote
Well, apologies there. We seem to have some issues with the sound when Maxwell Kodako. We're going to reconnect with him and see if we can hear. Maxwell, try again. Let's see.
Well, Mama, if you can hear me.
We can. Better now.
Mr. Moro said he wrote an appeal to the National Appeals Committee asking for a justification for his disqualification. But the Appeals Committee was not able, or they couldn't write to him indicating the reason why he was disqualified. So he said that necessitated his decision to contest as independent candidate. I have with me Captain Moro Sechiama. We want to find out from him if he is ready for the consequences thereof for going for independent. Chief, can you justify, tell us exactly why you want to go for independent?
Yes, my reasons of going for independence is very simple. One, the party did not do fairly with me. After the appeals at the regional level, I wrote to the regional appeals committee to give me reasons for my disqualification. They could not do that. I proceeded to the appeals committee. I was invited and was testified. All my documents and everything was presented to the appeals committee. It was forwarded to NEC. I was waiting to hear from them. Nothing was said until the general secretary came out to mention some names without hearing my name. Well, when I came back to my constituency, the sitting MP, who is the member of parliament, Honorable Amankwesi Ama, has convened a meeting in his house to tell delegates that Honorable Moro, who was contesting, did not even have certificates. How come he can be a parliamentarian in this constituency? I also heard from some of the executive members that Moro belongs to one of the minority tribes in the constituency. And with that, it will be over his dead body to hear a name like Moro Yakubu being a member of parliament in an Achim town like Begro. Also, I was linked to the main opposition party, NDC, by some of the executive members, which is not true. Since 1992, that I started to vote, I have remained loyal to the New Patriotic Party. I have been a member of this party. All my parents have belonged to this party. And when you get to my polling station, which is Onuku electoral area, my house was the only house in 1992 where you could get a place to even post the NPP poster. With this, I've assessed grounds. It is my turn. I would like to go independent to come and serve my people in Fanteka North constituency.
Are you ready for the consequences thereof? The party says you sign an undertaking that you are not supposed to contest independent if you lose or you have issues. Are you ready for the consequences?
If the party has dealt fairly with me, I would have accepted and then sit down, come back, and then help the party to bring it back to power. But here is the case, you are linking me to the opposition party. This means you doesn't like me in the party. You does not like me in the party.
Is it not a strategy to disrupt the party's vote in the constituency?
And this is the bad strategy. If we continue to do this means we are spoiling our party.
Do you want to contribute to spoiling the party in the constituency?
I would not. That is why I said I am going on independent, for the party to know that I am a son of Fanteka North, and I was born and then bred here. Although I am not an Achim, but I am I'm a person from this constituency.
But are you aware that
Maxwell Kodako will have to leave it here and do the follow-ups a bit later on, but we get his points really clearly. We wish him the best with this. Maxwell Kodako reporting there from the Eastern region. Now, failed parliamentary candidate for Kwadaso constituency, Vincent Frimpong Menu, wants party executives to find a lasting solution to issues of voter register in all constituencies in the Ashanti region. Nanaya Ojima takes a look at some constituencies where the register was contested and filed this report.
Kwadaso constituency is last to hold parliamentary primary election due to postponement of the process over voter album feud. Delegates, some of whom hold chairmanship positions at various levels of the party, missed the opportunity to vote. Their names had disappeared from the electoral roll under circumstances they find difficult to understand. They had to compromise, in their own words, for the sake of peace. We have love for ourselves at Kwadaso. We understand democracy. These are small internal issues.
Na ensem kitwa bi na aba na misunderstanding bi na aba na me aka say me did say after this election we shall come together as one.
So abo me na me friend say polling station chairman oba me polling center.
I am a polling station chairman. This man is my secretary. He traveled for some time and has returned, but we are all missing from the album. A 3-member committee led by regional youth organizer Dennis Kwakwa was set up to look into the Kwadaso issue.
All the 172 that were initially expunged from the 170 from the 2013 album be left out, and then those that were used to replace them were also left out of the election. Anybody who has died over time anyone who has traveled out of the constituency, and one other person who defected from the NPP to NDC were all excluded from the album.
In Subin and Ashanti Achem North constituencies, delegates sought separate injunction to halt processes due to what they believe were a problematic voter albums. Joseph Boachi Dankwa, who sought to unseat incumbent MP Eugene Boachi entry in Subin, was dissatisfied at the register.
I also know that the whole country, no constituency is using accreditation to vote except Subin, because there is a plot to make sure that my supporters are sidelined. I don't know who the suspended delegates are. I don't know who is in the register or the roll to vote. I don't know how they even made the accreditation. I don't even know how it looks like. And I'm supposed to be a candidate.
So for voting in these two contested areas went on without Electoral Commission supervision as required by law after being served with the injunction. At Efijase Asokore, Deputy Regional Secretary Kwame Adom Apia suffered physical assault over protest of the voter register. All these issues Mr. Frimpong Menu once addressed after accepting defeat in the just ended Kwadaso elections.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that is not the best circumstance within which you would want to run elections. So, and I wouldn't pretend that it affected me alone. There were 3 candidates. This is something that we wouldn't want to happen in Kwadaso again or happen in any other constituency. We need a good time to plan. We need a good, a very credible voter album that is without disputes and acrimony. We need to work hard now and ensure that these things do not happen again. So I think that there are lessons to be learned based on that situation.
From Kumasi for Joy News, Nana Ojima reporting.
Now, over 100 frontline workers, including doctors and nurses, have cautioned the Electoral Commission against the upcoming voter registration exercise. According to them, the exercise could compromise the health sector, leading to mass infections of COVID-19 and possibly mass deaths. In an open letter addressed to the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, the health workers disclosed that currently 25 doctors in the Ashanti region have tested positive for COVID-19 and over 100 nurses are infected in the same region. The situation, they say, closely mirrors what is going on in other regions. Dr. Pius Isando is a public health practitioner and one of the concerned doctors sounding the alarm bells. He joins us via Zoom right there. Doc, thank you for your time. Why is this necessary? We've got just a few days to begin this exercise of registration.
All right, Mama V, thank you so much, and good afternoon to you. And let me take this opportunity to also greet viewers and Ghanaians across the country. Let me indicate that this was an open letter which was penned by a heterogeneous group of medical professionals, and it was directed specifically to the Electoral Commissioner. And the reason for this decision to petition the Electoral Commissioner is because she has the mandate to compile the electoral register. Let me quickly indicate that we have found it upset that there's a lot of interest by some political actors, and it's even interesting to know that there's so much interest by the Deputy Minister of Health and attempts to shadow the content of this petition. One, we've also noticed attempts to even implicate members of this group. There are attempts to induce members who have willingly given their blessing to this petition out of their genuine concern as medical practitioners. And there are inducements being offered these by faceless people with calls since yesterday, trying to induce our members who have taken this action just out of their own conviction and out of their love for this country.
When you say the calls for some persons to induce your members, what exactly are they asking them to do?
Our members have been offered benefits in the form of cash, other inducements to denounce their association with this petition.
And have they?
Written,
have they?
Come again.
Have they?
If they had, probably you would have heard about it. But I just want to put this out so you know what's.
Okay, great. Dr. Sando, if you can hear me, there's a second leg of this. The Electoral Commission has outlined comprehensive... Dr. Sando, I'm just asking, the Electoral Commission has outlined comprehensive plans to ensure applicants adhere strictly to the protocols that have been issued. Is that not enough?
All right, Mama V. So this petition was written with a lot of perspective from the public health perspective. And that's the professional perspective that we want to solely dwell on, since that is the sole motivation for this petition. One, and let me take my time to go into details so that I can land on your question. One, without doubt, when you come into the West African sub-region, Ghana seems to be one of the very high-level players when it comes to COVID-19 infections. As at the time we put this petition out, we had just about 14,500 cases. And by evening, after just 4 hours of putting this out, this number had ballooned to 15,000, indicating an increase in 500 in just one day. In fact, less than a day. Similar numbers over this month, all the days we've been recording not less than 200, 250, sometimes 400, and sometimes a peak of even 500 cases. Again, at the beginning of this month, we had just about 38 deaths recorded nationwide. And you would agree that the number has soared to 95, which indicates that the number of deaths is also rising over time. Now, within the medical fraternity, we've also not been spared, as we've lost dignified, venerable colleagues like Dr. Jacob Planju. We've lost Dr. Harry Boateng at the SDA hospital. We've lost the nurse, Madam Sophia Addo, and we've also lost a medical lab technician. And we want to say that the lives of our medical practitioners matter, and efforts should be made to protect the general citizenry and consequently also protect the lives of doctors.
Is this letter coming out of fear?
Coming back to the question, to the question, I think we all witnessed even what happened over the weekend as far as the parliamentary primaries were concerned. And this was also superintended by the same Electoral Commission. We all saw how principles like social distancing, physical distancing, hand washing, wearing of face masks were disregarded by the delegates who represent a cross-section of the country. And let me sound caution that that is a small fraction of the number of people who will be partaking in the mass registration if this exercise is allowed to continue.
So Dr. Pius Esando, apologies there. So you're looking at what happened in the primaries and you're thinking that that could be replicated in the upcoming voter registration exercise. That's why you wrote an open letter to the Electoral Commission.
Not exactly that alone, but coming events do cast a shadow. This was an exercise that, one, was superintended by the same Electoral Commission, and this is an
this was purely an NPP exercise which was supervised by the Electoral Commission. I wanted to put that in perspective.
Yes, and I want to put it in a bigger perspective that that's even a small microcosm of the bigger picture that we are thinking about. And it's an exercise superintended by the same agency which talked about these principles about a month ago. Unless you want to tell me that as an agency talking about some principles within a month.
Okay, so because of time, I just want to fast track this because of time. What was your expectation of the Electoral Commission in the just ended exercise? What were you expecting the Electoral Commission to do?
One, if this is a smaller picture of what is to come, and this involves fewer people. For instance, there should have been strict adherence to physical distancing, social distancing, ensuring that wearing of face masks is compulsory, ensuring frequent hand washing by people. And when we talk about hand washing, we've gotten into a mindset that a single hand wash, for instance, is protective as far as this disease is concerned.
But we know that is not true. So, Dr. Esando, have you received a response from the Electoral Commission or the Commissioner?
We are waiting a response from the Electoral Commission, and that's why we find it absurd. We find it very capricious that at this moment that we have written a letter that is directed towards an agency.
And beyond the letter,
organizations and parties which do not represent that agency seem to have taken the lead. Some of these individuals who rode on the back of this same disease to prominence and to become
we get that point. We get that point, Dr. Isando. Just the last bit. Beyond the open letter, what are you hoping to do?
All right. For us, I think first and foremost, I want to acknowledge all health workers who have been in the front line as far as this disease is concerned.
All right, very well, Dr. Isando. That's what time would allow us. Thank you very much for your time. That's Dr. Pius Isando joining us there, talking on the back of an open letter that a group of health practitioners have written to the Electoral Commissioner. That's it for Election Brief today here on your election headquarters. My name is Mamavio Owusu-Abaji. On behalf of the team, we thank you for watching. Stay with us. We've got sports today coming right after this.